The knock on my front door came at exactly 12:17 a.m., sharp enough to cut through the silence, like a warning. I almost ignored it. I wasn't expecting anyone, and the quiet neighborhood of Franklin, Tennessee had never given me a reason to fear midnight visitors. But when I opened the door, the last person I ever imagined standing there looked back at me with trembling eyes, clutching a worn leather handbag as rain soaked her shoulders. My ex-mother-in-law, Margaret, whispered just 7 heartbreaking words that changed everything I believed about forgiveness. I have nowhere left to go. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances can truly change lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a thoughtful comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that may need them the most. 5 years earlier, I had walked away from my marriage to Rebecca with a broken heart and a promise to myself that I would never look back. Our divorce had not been loud or cruel, but it had been painfully final. We had simply become strangers living under the same roof, and eventually we admitted that love alone could not fix what had slowly fallen apart. Through all of it, Margaret had stood firmly beside her daughter. She was polite but distant, convinced I had failed the family she loved. After the divorce papers were signed, I never heard from her again. Standing in my doorway that rainy night, however, she looked nothing like the confident woman I remembered. Her elegant clothes had been replaced by a simple green dress. Her shoulders slumped beneath invisible burdens, and her eyes carried the exhaustion of someone who had cried for far too long. Without asking questions, I stepped aside and invited her in. The warmth of the house seemed almost unfamiliar to her. She wrapped her hands around a cup of tea without drinking it. Long moments passed before she finally explained what had happened. Rebecca had accepted a job overseas nearly 2 years earlier, and after remarrying, she had decided to settle there permanently. Margaret had insisted she was independent and didn't need anyone's help. Pride had convinced her she could manage alone. Then life changed all at once. Medical bills drained her savings after an unexpected illness. Rising living expenses forced her to sell the family home. The apartment she rented became unaffordable after the building changed ownership. Friends she had counted on had either moved away or struggled with problems of their own. She had spent weeks pretending everything was fine until there was simply nowhere left to turn. She admitted something that surprised me even more than her visit. She had almost called dozens of people before dialing my number. She erased it several times before finally gathering the courage to drive across town. She never expected me to answer the door, much less invite her inside. That night I prepared the guest room. It wasn't because I had forgotten the past. It wasn't because everything between us had suddenly become perfect. It was because I remembered something my own father often said whenever someone needed help. Character isn't revealed by how we treat people who love us. It's revealed by how we treat those who once misunderstood us. The following weeks weren't easy. Margaret struggled with embarrassment every single day. She insisted on cleaning the kitchen, folding laundry, and cooking dinner, even when I asked her simply to rest. She apologized constantly, as though every meal and every roof over her head created another debt she could never repay. One Saturday morning, I found her quietly polishing the old dining table. Tears rolled down her face as she admitted that she had judged me unfairly for years. She confessed that after the divorce, she had blamed me because it was easier than accepting that sometimes two good people simply cannot make a marriage work. She carried guilt for never asking how I was doing after everything ended. Her honesty broke something inside me that I didn't even realize I had been carrying. Instead of reopening old wounds, we slowly built something neither of us expected, a genuine friendship. I helped her organize her finances, connected her with a local community center that offered part-time administrative work, and encouraged her to volunteer at a neighborhood food pantry. Within months, her confidence returned. She smiled more often. She laughed again. The woman who had once arrived at my door believing her life was over slowly began creating a brand new chapter. One afternoon, nearly 8 months after that unforgettable night, she handed me a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note, thanking me not for giving her a place to stay, but for giving her dignity when she had almost lost hope. She wrote that forgiveness had given her something no amount of money ever could, the courage to believe tomorrow could still be beautiful. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment telling us about a moment when someone offered you kindness, or when you chose to forgive someone, even though it wasn't easy. Your story might inspire another person who is reading through the comments today. Not long afterward, Margaret moved into a cozy apartment only a few miles away. She visited often, sometimes bringing homemade bread or fresh flowers from the community garden where she volunteered. We never pretended the past hadn't happened. Instead, we allowed grace to write a better future than resentment ever could. Looking back now, I sometimes think about how close I came to ignoring that knock at 12:17 inches the morning. If I had let old pain answer the door instead of compassion, 2 lives might have remained trapped by yesterday's mistakes. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who believes in second chances, subscribing for more uplifting stories, and letting us know your thoughts below. Sometimes the greatest miracles don't arrive with applause or celebration. Sometimes they simply stand quietly on your doorstep, hoping someone will open the door.